I'm back. Two interviews. I know you get a 2-for-1 today, guys. Actually, a 3-for-1. We got the podcast later, but right now we got Chris Lights Out Lytle about to join me on the Instagram Live, the Mystic Hour Instagram Live sessions. I thank you guys so much for being here with me and watching these interviews. You can watch it after. You know it'll be on my page. We're gonna get Chris in here and we will begin. If you guys do not know who Chris Lytle is a UFC vet. He is a former cage rage welterweight champion. He's a boxer. He's a bare knuckle boxer. He's fought in so many different spaces in combat sports. He's one of the first fighters to win submission of the night, fight of the night, and knockout of the night. All three of them. He's a 6-time fight of the night winner, 3-time submission of the night. So many things. He just has accomplishments across the board. He was also on The Ultimate Fighter on season 4, The Comeback. He was a finalist, fought Matt Serra. We're going to add him on in here, and we are going to begin. What's up, Bert Watson? I see you, baby. Dude. Chris will be in here shortly. I appreciate everybody coming to watch today. I know it's a weird times, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get past it, and we will be better than ever. Positivity from here. It's a very important thing. Shout out to my man, Mr. You Can Too. I see you. Follow that page. Very important information there. Hold on, guys. We're just having some TDs. We're going to get Chris in here shortly. Guys, he's coming. He's coming. He's coming. Give me 1 second, guys. Good amount of people in here for 3:40 on a Wednesday. I appreciate you guys. Once the pandemic is over, we go. There he is. There he is, the living legend, Chris Lights Out Lytle.
What's happening, man?
How you doing, boss? It's better if you turn it the other. Yeah, if you turn it the other way, you're perfect right there. All right, I appreciate the time, Chris. How you doing today?
Doing fantastic. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing wonderful. First of all, how are you doing during this COVID time period? I know it's a different time for everybody. Are you still training sometimes in the gym, or are you just doing the full-time firefighting?
Man, I got to be honest with you. I never really stopped training much. Our gym, we kind of closed down to the public, but there was still about, eight of us who would go in there, had a key. So we kind of go in on our own and keep the doors closed so nobody can see. But, yeah, I've been pretty much training the whole time. So
that's awesome. There's a lot of fighters who unfortunately haven't been able to get in the gyms and they're training from home. But that's cool to see that you still can get in the gym. Small amount of people, but still getting that working.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris, if I can go back a little bit, I know you started off wrestling in high school and you did some boxing just for fun. How did you end up getting connected within The Ultimate Fighter, which you started on season 4, The Comeback?
Yeah, geez. I started fighting back in 1998, long time ago in the world, to be honest with you, when it comes to fighting. So I just had to fight all over the place. I fought in the Midwest a lot, and I did well here. And I actually started going over. I had a connection who was going over to Pancrase and fighting. He was trying to become the king of Pancrase, so I was able to go over there. I just kept winning locally until they sent me over there. And then I found out, man, it was a whole different world when you're fighting guys who train every day. I was fortunate enough to get over to stay over there and train for a while. They let me come over for 6 weeks and train there and get a couple fights in and really show me how you're supposed to train to be professional. And then I fought for the UFC once, but that was before Zuffa and them had bought it. So it was with the SEG days, a totally different organization. I remember It was sad after I fought there. I was like, I want to go back and fight in Japan because it was like a real sport over in Japan. And it really wasn't ran like that here until, Dana White and Zuffa and them got a hold of it. And then after they got it, a couple fights later, and then I was like, hey, I like the direction this is going in, but then it was still hard to get back in. So I had to, do well in Japan and keep fighting around here and beating as many local guys. Not really local, regional. I'd go to St. Louis and fight. I'd go down to Florida and fight, but just keep beating people until they call your name, and then you get to come up and fight.
Absolutely. So it was different back in those days because you fought in the UFC, then you were back in Japan. So you didn't have to sign like a long-term contract, a 4-fight deal. You can just kind of fight wherever you wanted.
What's funny is they wouldn't let you sign a contract. I mean, you'd be like, hey,
Wow.
even after that, even when like Dana White and them were running that at first, you'd be like, hey, man, I'd like to do a contract. And like, yeah, we don't do too many contracts because here was
Wow.
the problem. They only have, let's say they put on 8 or 10 fights a year. Well, and they'd only put on about 8 fights on the card. So, I mean, there were 16 fighters. You didn't have enough fights to give guys 3 fights a year. You know what I mean? So they only gave it to people by marathon. So if you were fighting well, they would continue to have you on. And if not, they wouldn't. So everybody, unless you were a champ, pretty much had to fight outside the UFC. So that's why I'd fight in WEC. I'd go back over to Japan. You just fight wherever you could, or sometimes even smaller local shows if they pay you well. But, I mean, it was just a different era. It wasn't until really I think BJ Penn came out and he went up in weight class and beat Matt Hughes. And then he said, "That's screw it. I'm going to go over here and fight in Japan." Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You can't just start leaving after you get our title. So then they said, hey, we better sign everybody these contracts. And they started signing people. So
That's awesome. That's something I didn't know from back in those days. I thought people had fight contracts, but no, they could
nope.
fight whatever they wanted to.
Yep.
So then you got onto the Ultimate Fighter, the comeback,
Yep.
and you were a finalist there. Is there anything you remember from being in that house? Because you had no contact to the world, not really. You can make phone calls, but anything you remember from being in that house?
We couldn't make phone calls.
Oh, phone calls either. No phone calls. Yeah. Wow.
They gave us 2 at the beginning. They said no more. The thing I remember is I remember me and Matt and Sarah were 2 guys we talked about. We loved it, because we were just like, man, most people, I mean, I was a full-time firefighter. I didn't get a chance to train all the time. That
Yeah.
was how I was. That wasn't my thing. That was their thing. So to me, this was the first time in my really fighting career, besides when I was fighting over in Japan, that I got to train full time. And with some of the best guys in the world. Had Randy Couture there, kind of teaching stuff, and George St. Pierre, and then me and Den Thomas, and there's all these guys training. So I was like, man, this is great. I loved it. I don't need a cell phone. I don't need a TV. This is a time for me to learn how to fight better. And I picked up techniques that I brought back to Indianapolis with me, and that's helped me the rest of my career. So I loved being there. And, a lot of people complain about stuff. Not me. I thought it was a great opportunity.
That's awesome. And Dana White announced that they're bringing it back. So any advice you have for any of the guys that are going to step in the Ultimate Fighter house?
Yeah, like I just said, man, take advantage. Don't think about the things you're not getting. Think about the things you are getting. That'll be the time right there where you can, decide exactly what kind of fighter you want to be. I mean, because if you want to be good at this, I mean, you got to dedicate. It's got to take all your free time. There can't be free time. I mean, your free time's got to be evolved around, is this making me a better fighter, or what can I do to dedicate my life to this for now? It just is what it is. And like, I had 4 kids. I worked in the fire department, and I fought. That was it. People would ask me, oh, okay, what do you do for fun? That's it. I mean, do you like to go golf? I never go golf. Do you like to go hunting? I've never been hunting in my life. I didn't do anything else. That was it. And, that sounds kind of boring in some ways. And even when I go travel for a fight, people, it sounds like fun. You were in Japan. Yeah, I was in there cutting weight for 4 days, and then I fought once. I left the next day, so I was there for 5 days, but it wasn't much fun. You know what I mean? It's like The fight was fun, but it wasn't just. You're not going sightseeing. And that's not really not. It wasn't kind of what people think, but I love the fighting aspect of it. And if that's what you really want to do, then you got to figure that out and dedicate yourself to it. And the Ultimate Fighter is the ultimate, proving ground for yourself, whether you can handle this or whether you can't.
Absolutely. And did they give you any pay after each fight, like the exhibition fights, or it was until the end? It was a competition until you got to the end?
Luckily for us, we were all veterans. I was on the comeback season. So
yeah,
a lot of us, they gave us a little bit of stipend so we could, I had my family, I had to take off work. So they gave us a little bit of money just to send back to family because we were all veterans. We'd already been doing this for a while. We had to take off a lot of our time. We couldn't fight for really about 6 months. We had to go there, they have to record it, and then they have to air it, and you have to fight. So you really get no other income, and we were all fighters, so we had to get that income. So they did pay you a little bit. It was nice.
Awesome. So then you got into the UFC after the Ultimate Fighter. Was there any specific was there any fight that you loved the most, and who did you learn from the most after fighting them?
Oh man, I learned. What's funny is when I win, I'm the best fighter in the world. I need to learn from. All of a sudden you lose. What happened? Why did I lose? You know what I mean? So, I know one thing I did learn when I fought Matt Hughes. I injured my foot before that, and I really couldn't do all the cardio I wanted to, and it was a boring fight, but I didn't really push the pace as much as I could have. Like he can't. I was just mad at myself really at the end because I was like, you know what? If I couldn't run, I should have joined a different gym and did like swimming laps and just push myself that way. But I tried to gut it out and go to the gym and keep doing what I was doing. But I was like, man, I wasn't smart about it. So it really taught me that you have to be as smart as you can. You have to do everything in your power, no matter what. Like I said, it would have been a pain in the ass to go to a different gym and start swimming laps all the time. Yeah, but if I couldn't run, that's what I should have did. I just kept trying to grapple more. And I couldn't really push off it well, so I just didn't. I don't think I was smart enough as I should. I tried as hard as I could. And I worked hard, but I just didn't. Didn't work smart. So I learned to work harder after that fight.
So you fought a lot of future champions in the UFC. Do you think that you're not getting that welterweight championship fight or that title took away from your career, or you regret never getting that title shot, or you were completely satisfied with the fights that you had?
Well, at first, no. At first I was not real happy just because, especially the biggest problem I had was when I had in the Ultimate Fighter, me and Matt Serra fought, in the finale, whoever won that fight got a title fight versus St. Pierre. I lost a split decision, and he knocked St. Pierre out. So, that was really bothersome. But that bothered me for a long time. And then, after that fight, though, after a while, eventually I made the decision that, I didn't care. I was not going to let myself ever really try and get the decision again. I tried to get that decision. I tried to win the decision. I didn't care if it was a boring fight or what happened. I was just like, I'm going to win this decision. I don't care. And after that, I was like, I'm never going to try to win a decision again. I'm going to try and finish everybody. And, either I'm going to knock them out, I'm going to submit them, or it's going to go the distance. It's going to be a great fight. So any of those things I'm happy with. I'm not going to be satisfied with the loss where you didn't do what you could have, because that's the worst of all time, because you didn't get any, I lost some fights after that. Yeah. I won most of them. I lost a few, but even if I did, they were usually fight the night, and they were great fights. So at the end of the day, I felt like I was doing things my way. I wasn't willing to win badly. I was willing to win the way I want to, or even lose the way I want to. So at the end of my career, I felt like I did the way I want to, and I put on good fights, and people watch me. So that was I started breaking it down. I'm an entertainer, baby. That's what we're supposed to do. So I felt like I was able to accomplish that. So a title thing would have been nice, but I knew going in, trying as hard as I can, the way I wanted to, and doing it, I was going to be satisfied at the end. And I am. I look back at my career happily. I look back at a lot of fighters right now, and they start getting knocked out into their career, and things aren't going well. And a lot of people leave the sport bitter. I didn't do that. And I encourage other fighters to try and think that before their careers end. How do you want to remember your career? That's huge to me.
Yeah, and every time I saw your name on the marquee, I'm just like, oh, Chris Lytle's fighting? There's no way this is going to be some kind of a boring fight. No way, because every single one of your fights were just amazing and entertaining. And one big thing associated with Chris Lytle is never been knocked out, never been submitted. How do you explain having that durability of just never somebody even you being sometimes in tight submissions and you still get out of there?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. That's just, I felt a lot of that was mental toughness, is going in there and trying to go really hard with the best guys you can, and put yourself in bad positions, and just refusing to submit when you. I mean, you have to at certain times in the gym, but just learning. I put myself in bad spots all the time. I'm trained. I'm real tired, and say, okay, now they start with their hooks in. They're starting with my back. They're starting, just man, and just learn how to get out of it there, and learn not to panic, and how to relax. And you can make up for, guys, if they've only had 5, 10 fights, whatever, you can make up for that by going super hard in the gym and putting yourself in those bad positions and become a veteran in a way, just by the positions you're putting yourself in. And I have to think, some of it's got to be genetic when it comes to not getting knocked out. I've been knocked down several times, though. I've probably been knocked down 3 or 4 times in these fights. But luckily, I was never really knocked out. I was hit and had my bell rung, but usually I could always just continue to fight. So I'd like to think it has something to do with just, my will, but I don't really know. Maybe it's just a genetic gift. I got a big, thick head like Homer Simpson or something.
So, Chris, what would you say? I don't know how.
Sorry.
What was that?
Burt Watson, what's happening, baby?
In the house, in the building. That's my guy right there. He's one of the most amazing people I have in my life right now. Very encouraging.
Guy, man, always running the show is great.
Always. Any, you know what? Perfect. Any memories you have with Burt Watson while he was there with the UFC,
Always. It was just,
or his energy? You
one of
know.
the things you're always going to know, and everybody, when you go, you talk like any of the older fighters, you go, we rolling, baby. Everybody knows that's what you want to hear, and that's what it means. Like when the fights are getting ready to go, and that's okay. You're like, okay, this is real now. We're going. We rolling, baby. And that's Bert's yelling, and he's all hyped up every fight, no matter what. But that means it's go time, and that's when you start getting the juices going. You're like, okay, that was like your let's get ready to rumble in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was so. Always remember that with Bert. It's great.
Did it ever make you feel nervous, or it was more like you get pumped up?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, before that is a nervous time. When you first get to the venue and you're walking around all day, people can act cool. People can act like I'm cool, calm, collective. You ain't like that the day of the fight, man. Day of the fight, like I couldn't eat much. I was like trying to pretend and laugh and stuff, but I'm like, your nerves are still going, and then when you get to the venue, oh, hell yeah, your nerves are going. You're out there, you're warming up, and you're hitting them. I mean, but not until you really step in the cage is it over. You know what I mean? But, I mean, yeah, when Bert starts going, you're like, okay, this is my familiar thing. I'm good to go. You get that routine go. But every time in the locker room, it's nerve-wracking, bro.
Yeah. So I don't know how often you watch the UFC now or MMA now, but like recently we had Sean O'Malley get a calf kick, and then his nerve kind of went out, and he just kind of, I don't want to say gave up, but he ended up losing, and we had another fighter leave on a stretcher because for exhaustion. Any like advice you would give to those kind of fighters when things like that happen to them in the cage?
I mean, it's not much. I mean, to me, that gets back once again to the mental toughness aspect of it, and it's hard to work on that. That just has to have from life, and deal with adversity in life. And I think that becomes a mindset. You know how to deal with certain things, or when you're put in that situation and I'm used to dealing with that different kind of adversity, that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying they haven't dealt with adversity or they don't really know. I'm not really saying that. I'm just saying it's just like anything. It's a skill that you work on and you get better at, or you don't, and a lot of people, when you to reach a certain level, you've had to deal with a lot of bad, tough situations. And, I love the way that my life and career has gone. And it's kind of led me to this point. I feel like now, especially, I don't think there's any situation I could be in where I'm like, I can't handle it, and when bad things happen, I'm just like, all right, I know there's opportunity out of this. It's just, if I'm going to dig down deep and push myself, I'm going to come through this. And I encourage those guys to do the same. I don't consider you, until your first loss. Let's see how you react, because some people, crumble, and some people just, leap over that hurdle like a gazelle and take off. Some people, it makes them go, okay, I get it now. And we'll see what these guys are going to do with that. There's been a lot of fights right now in the UFC where you're getting this older veteran, Brunson, and they're beating these young up and comers who are, they're hyped up. They've got 10 out of 11 wins by knockout, and they're running through people. These veterans are tough guys, man. I don't know what so let's see how they react now. I mean, are you going to push back and go below that gate, or are you going to jump past that gatekeeper next time and be able to be in the title hunt? I mean, we don't know that, but that's what it's going to take. You have to learn that mental toughness and just perseverance. And, that comes, I mean, hell, coming at the highest level with a loss will build that kind of perseverance in you.
Absolutely, Chris. That's big words right there. I hope they watch this interview and they hear that. I remember watching. I always watch every weigh-in because just to see the fighters square up is such an important thing to fights to me. And I remember you giving Dana White that letter, and I just had goosebumps. I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't think he's doing what he's doing. No, 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 no. I don't think he's doing what he's doing. And it basically was a retirement letter. So what was the thought process behind writing that letter? I don't know if you write it or typed it.
Oh, yeah.
And you wrote it. And how important was it for you to spend those moments with your kids after that? Because that was one of the biggest things of making that decision.
Well, what happened to me was, I had 4 kids, and my wife didn't work for 12 years, when I was fighting. I mean, the whole time my kids were young. I didn't want my wife to work, I wanted somebody to be there with the kids. So that was our routine, and didn't pay much for a long time. And then it started paying more. And I was doing pretty well financially and everything. And, I remember I had a knee surgery, and I missed the gym for, a month. And it's the first time really ever I started going to all my kids, gymnastics meets and my basketball practices and all that. And, I started feeling, I enjoyed it, but it was weird. I felt weird. People would say, "Oh, Chris, good to see you here. We're not used to seeing." I was like, "Dang, that's weird." And then all of a sudden, like UFC called me like, "Hey, we want you to fight again." I was like, "All right, want me to fight Dan Hardy?" And I showed up for the gym that day, and that was the first time I can ever remember having like a guilty feeling in my heart. I was like, man, I felt kind of guilty. I mean, my kids were getting old at this point. I had kids like in high school, and all of a sudden I was like, man, I kind of started looking back, and I was like, you've missed a lot of their stuff, and you're never getting that back. And I started feeling really guilty about it. So I came back home that night, and I remember I sat down with my wife and we talked, and after we made the decision, like, this is gonna be my last fight. And after I made that decision, it gave me the freedom to go to the gym every day and train my ass off for something. I'm not gonna lose my last fight; it's never gonna happen. So that's what I had to do to get back in there without feeling guilty. And so, like I said, I just knew I was gonna look back at my life with regret. And I remember talking to a guy before that was saying how, he worked so hard, he wanted to be successful for his kids and all this. And next thing you know, his daughter, left for college. He's like, I don't even really know her, and she don't know me anymore because I got trapped in this trap of working hard. Because you want to work hard, be successful for your kids, but there's a price to pay with that. There's a tough balance you got to figure out, and that's hard to do. It's way harder than people realize. And I realized I was way too far one way. So I was like, man, luckily for me, like I said, I won 5 out of my last 6 fights. I was feeling like I was fighting better than ever. But priority wise, I feel like it was something I can never regret, because it was always, it's what had to be done. I wanted to spend some time with my kids.
Absolutely. And you got to retire on top of the win, and not everybody gets to, experience that, because, some guys will say before they retire, and then they kind of have that mindset, and they don't have the strongest mental toughness in there. But you went out on top, and you defeated Dan Hardy in that last fight. And you went on to going back to full. I mean, well, you were a full-time firefighter the whole entire time. You were the original firefighter. I know Stipe Miocic has talked about that. He's heavyweight champion, he's a firefighter. But Chris Lytle is the original firefighter that full-time still worked. How did you split that time between fighting and firefighting and fighting?
Like I was saying earlier, I mean, that was it. If you were gonna find me, I was gonna be at the firehouse, at the gym, or at my house. So there was really no in between. There was 3 things I would do, and it always kills me when people are like, oh, I'd like to do this, I don't have time. Like, you have time to do what you want. If somebody came up and give you like tickets to your favorite concert, I don't care if you're working that day, you're gonna find a way to do it. You don't have extra time to do besides the things you want to do. I mean, I get that. I mean, if you kind of want to do something, I mean, you're never going to find time. You're never going to find the time. But if that's a priority, like my life was, I have to find time to work out. I have to go to work. I have to spend my time with my kids. If there's free time, I'll do something. But you know what? There's not a lot of free time when you do those things. So I was going to work as hard as I could. I was going to be at the gym. I was going to do everything I had to do, but that didn't leave any extra time. But that I was fortunate, man. I love working at the fire department. I love working at the UFC, and I love spending time with my family. So even though it was kind of monotonous and kind of just limited to what I did, it was my favorite things to do in the world. So I didn't really mind. But I mean, it's been weird as getting off here. You talked about the COVID thing. I was like, first time ever, like, I wasn't putting on any fights. I wasn't doing anything. I was like, what am I gonna do now? It's like, I'm not used to free time. I wouldn't play golf there. That sucks. I hate that game. That's stupid. So that's not going to be anything I'm going to pick up anytime soon. So.
Yeah, and then you came out of retirement and you went to bare knuckle. Why choose bare knuckle and not go back to MMA?
Bro, I mean, I didn't even really plan on coming out. I remember I was watching it on Facebook, and I saw it's like Joe Riggs does bare knuckle fight in London. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with Joe? Because Joe's my buddy. I had to watch this, so I click on it, and then I'm watching. I think halfway through the second round, I started going, how do I get a hold of these guys? I got to do this one. It's just like I felt like I'm an old school combative athlete. Back in the day, we could headbutt, you could knee the hell on the ground, you could do all that stuff. So I was like, man, as somebody who thinks they're a combative, I got to try this once, man. I got to do a bare knuckle boxing, man. I mean, I had to do it, So I got a hold of them. And they're like, hell yeah, we'll have you come out here, And it was in London, and I wouldn't have to fight there. And I came back to the States, and I tried to get the people of Indiana I met with the commission and tried to get them to legalize it. And they're like, we're not doing it, Chris. So I was like, all right, forget it. And then they legalized it in Wyoming, and then they legalized it in Mississippi. And I got hooked up with the BKFC guys. And, man, I absolutely love that sport. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I was a boxer. I had 15 pro boxing match. And I never really got to retire from that the way I did the UFC. I always wanted to do another boxing match. I kind of tried to set one up later. It never happened. But, man, if there had been – this has been 5 years ago, you'd see me doing a lot more bare knuckle. But and to be honest with you, it's so much easier on my body. I mean, I don't think I could get through an MMA camp. Unless you're going to do a ton of, like, growth hormone, testosterone.
Yeah.
That's guys at 40 have to do that because I mean I can train hard for a day. I can't, maybe two, but there's no way I'm training hard 3 or 4 days in a row. It's just not going to happen. I mean, my body would physically break down. So, but bare knuckle, you go in there, you jump rope for a minute, you spar, you hit the mitts, whatever. It's so easy as far not easy, but the training is so much easier than it is to do the MMA fight. I mean, that's just the first part of practice. Then you got grappling, you got jiu-jitsu, you got wrestling. I mean, you know what I mean? Kickboxing, but you use these two things, these two hands.
Yeah.
That's all you got to worry about. So much easier to do a bare knuckle fight. It is different though. It's not like, I mean, it's way different than people think. I mean, people think it's like boxing. It's not like boxing. If you look at when we're usually putting good boxers in there or decent boxers versus like an MMA guy, it's just a little bit different. So I absolutely love it too. I'm doing some commentary for him and a lot of fun, man. We got a big fight coming up September 11th. Thiago Alves has joined the ranks.
Yes.
Brony. We got Hector Lombard's getting ready to fight
Kendall Grove. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Just signed on. We got some good stuff coming up here, man. And I think those things are entertaining as can be. Because one thing I felt with the UFC, which I love the UFC, but especially you get the upper fights, the title fights, the title limit. Whoever wins this fight is going to fight for the title. A lot of those fights aren't very entertaining because everybody just wants to win at all costs. They're kind of boring sometimes.
Yeah.
You get a lot of people just go out there, hang it all out, put it on the line. Bare knuckle hadn't got to that point yet. Everybody in there is like, this is a damn fist fight. I'm gonna go out there and knock this guy's head off. So I think it's highly entertaining. Hopefully they can keep that edge and they can keep the fact that people just want to go out there and know it's a fist fight. And if they lose that, it's gonna be a shame. But I hope they keep it for the next several years.
Yeah, got Christine Faria fighting on that card too. Shouts out to her. You are a boxer and MMA fighter. Now we have this big issue with fighter pay. Do you ever think that the UFC will pay their fighters as much as boxers get paid? Should they be equally paid as them? And do you think they're underpaid?
Obviously, they're underpaid, but I mean, it's all relative to a lot of different things. I mean, it's so much better than it used to be. People don't understand. I mean, even from the time I fought, I'd be embarrassed to tell you when I fought the first time with the SEG. I made like $500 in the UFC. So wow. I think now the guys are probably getting 20 times that. So it's bad, but like you go up 20 times the rate in 20 years, that's pretty damn good. You know what I mean? You got to understand there's a big difference on boxing and MMA. If you look at like you could fight on the Floyd Mayweather whatever card, and the guys fighting in the early prelim fights aren't making anything. They're making very little. And so, the UFC pays more for the lower level or the entry level and less for the big time. But it's more about the full card. It's not all about the main event, just like boxing is. So a lot fewer people can make a living doing boxing. There's only a handful, I think, who can really make that kind of money. Yeah, like you're talking. So it sounds good, it looks good, but I mean, in order for the whole totalitarian of the card, I think it has to be more spread out for the pay structure, like it is. Obviously, people could stand to get paid more, but they're moving in the right direction. I mean, how many people are making tons of money right now? I mean, that didn't used to be the case. You didn't get the people millions upon millions every fight. I'm very happy for the way that is going. And but I know a lot of people complain. If you're making decent money for fights and you're not one of the main events, you should be pretty damn thankful, I think. I mean, if you're fighting on a prelim fight and you're making 20,000, I mean 20, that's pretty damn good. I remember fighting for a lot less. I mean, you couldn't make a life out of it, but I mean you can now. So you just got to go out there and keep making yourself marketable, making people want to fight, watch you fight. You can do that. I think they're going to pay you well. I mean, that was the case for me, I thought. I mean, I won a lot of money on bonuses, but at the same time, they always told me, hey, man, just keep doing what you're doing. We'll put you on as many times as you want to fight.
Hey, first fighter to win submission of the night, knockout of the night, and fight of the night, all three of them in their careers. So we don't forget that. But one last question, Chris, before I let you go. Thank you so much for this time. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
We have Mike Tyson fighting in November against Roy Jones Jr. Number one, can I get your prediction? Number two, would you fight in that league and maybe have a rematch with Matt Serra? Because I know you want that fight back. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
No, I mean, with the second part, man, me and Matt are buddies, dude. I didn't like fighting him any man, just because there's enough people out there to fight. Why do I fight a guy I really like and respect? One of my favorite people in the sport. I don't want to fight him ever again. I'll talk with him. We'll debate. We'll play chess or something. But as far as you come to Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, here's my prediction. I predict heavy disappointment in the fan because I think it's going to be a sparring session. This is not going to be a real fight. They're going to go out there and pit a pat. The bare knuckle people off Tyson a pretty good contract, and he turned it down. I think, why would he turn down that kind of money? Because why would you fight for real when you can spar one of your buddies and get paid well? I think that's what's going to happen. Roy's chin is not there anymore. He's not going to want to take a Mike coming at him hardcore. So I think they said it's an exhibition. So to me, I mean, they might even wear headgear, 60-ounce stuff. I don't know.
They said no headgear, no headgear.
Like, regardless, I think they're going to go out there and spar for 8 rounds, and I think people are going to be highly disappointed because they think Tyson's going to go out there and try and take his head off. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to go out there and try and kill each other. They're going to go out there and spar, and people are going to be disappointed, like, oh, they didn't try to kill each other. It's that exhibition out there, so be careful. But my prediction is nothing big's going to happen, and people are going to be pissed.
Hey, that's real talk from Chris Lytle right there. Chris, I appreciate the time today. From your storied career, for everything every fight you've given us to watch, and that we still can watch to this day, and everybody should go out there and watch. Any news you want to give everybody about bare knuckle and the fights coming up?
Like I said, we got a lot of good stuff coming up with bare knuckle. We just got a DAZN deal, so we're on DAZN, so you can watch that for nothing if you got that app. That'd be great. Besides that, I am involved with something called the B2 Fight Series, where it's a developmental league for the UFC. And we've been killing it lately, too. We're actually one of the few people putting on fights. We put on a fight this past weekend in Alabama. We got a couple more in Alabama set up. We got Kentucky. We got Iowa. So we're putting on some fights. We're going to put on some we got some guys who are going to be future UFC stars. So check that out, too.
That's awesome. Chris, thank you so much again. I appreciate it. We'll talk again. Hope to have you on. Maybe we can come on here, break down the card, because I see you're still watching the card. So let me know. I'm always down.
I break them down all the time. Let me know, bud.
All right, Chris. I appreciate it. Have a good one, all right?
Yeah.
Thank you.